I can be fixed. All right, since it's Grad Sunday, I thought, hey, what it would be utterly appropriate for us. Let's talk to the grads and what graduation is, and kind of look at it from a biblical perspective. So let's take a few minutes here to do that here this morning. So when we think about graduation, you might be going like, especially the high schoolers are going like, whew, glad to have that over with, right? That's what graduation means, is I'm no longer legally required to have to show up all the time and sit through a whole day. And you are absolutely right. Congratulations. Now you have to go to work every day, because bills are on the way. Congratulations graduating into life. How about that? But, so we can kind of look at that and kind of think of graduation as kind of an ending thing. But that's not really what graduation is. If we're going to really get to the bottom of this, we need to understand what graduation and graduating is. And it's not really an end, it's a beginning. Yes, technically it's ending something, but the very essence of what graduating means is that there has been something and you are being launched into something else. You are beginning. You've been given something. And so we could even sharpen it going, it's not just about completing something, it's really a preparation. If you have the right mindset of what graduating is what I have been given is launching me out into something new. It has prepared for me. It's not just something that's over or completed, but the natural next thing, the logical next thing is that I've been prepared for whatever is coming next, and I'm better for it, and I'm ready for it. And so to really sharpen this, you might even go, look, it's about, to be a graduate is to go, I have training, I've been receiving something, and now I have an opportunity to build and expand on that. I have been given this little thing, and now I'm to take this out and to use this and continue to build and expand on this and use it for life and for my own benefit and for the benefit of my community. That's what graduating really, really means. It's not an end. It's a beginning. You have been given something and you are held responsible for that, an opportunity to take that out and do with it as you find ability to do so. And so that's why I really want to kind of talk about is to go, okay, if that's what it really is, then let's bring it into the Bible. And there is a graduate of one sort in the Bible. His name is Timothy. So he is really the next generational leader in the church. He wasn't one of the early believers. Paul was, and the other apostles. And so Timothy is a protégé of Paul. And he writes 2 letters to Timothy, kind of handing over the reins of the ministry and preparing him of going, look, you're basically graduating into ministry, and I want to give you some advice. And so we do understand that these 2 letters are really written from that perspective of going, Timothy's going to be a church leader, in essence, a pastor. And so we need a lot of the advice in there is oriented that way, but let's be careful not to draw too sharp of a contrast here of going, well, being a pastor is one thing and has one set of rules, and to be a Christian is a whole nother thing. That's not true. That's not right Christian theology. We are all in this together. While pastors have a particular set of responsibilities, yes, we're really all in this. And so Paul writes this in Colossians to Christian slaves, people that have really no opportunity, they have nowhere to go, but he describes their life this way. He says, whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart as working for the Lord, not just for whoever your human boss is, your human master. And here's the clincher. He says, this is the right Christian perspective about your life. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. If you are a Christ follower, anything that you do is really, you are really serving Christ. So there isn't this false distinction between, well, pastors really serve God and the rest of us just have regular jobs and we come for church and that's it. No matter who you are as a Christ follower, everything that you do belongs to Christ and is for Christ. And so if we bring that into these Timothy letters here, we begin to understand, okay, there's some wisdom for all of us to find. And so let's look at the first chapter here. Paul kind of drops this one big bomb on him here. He says, for this reason, I remind you to fan into flames the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands. So Paul's starting right out of the gate at this letter of going, Timothy, God has given you something. He's given you a gift. He has enabled you. And gift here in the Bible, at different times it has very precise meanings. Here it's kind of broad of going, look, this is in all the ways that he has made you capable and accomplished and made you able to learn and grow. It could be the spiritual gifts. It's all these things. God has given you a gift. He has made you into who you are, and you now have that responsibility, graduate, to fan into flame what God has given you. That's the very essence of what graduating is, right? You have been given something, and now you have the opportunity of going, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to expand on it. I'm going to grow it. This is exactly what Paul is talking about. So I kind of like it in this version here. It goes, God placed a gift in you. Don't let it sit idle. This is not an end. This is not, oh, that part's over. No, you've been given something, and so now you have to build on that. You've got to, take a little fire, right? Little fire skills, right? So everyone doesn't start out with a big bonfire unless you have a big can of gasoline, and then you have no eyebrows. You got. I'm just seeing if you're awake. You got to add a little bit of the little stuff, and you build it up, and you get to a medium fire and build fire, and you keep adding to it. You can't start with a gigantic log. And so you have been given something as a graduate, a piece that you need to go and fan into flames. And so God is part of this. If you're a Christ follower, this is not by accident. This is not just for you. God has given it to you for a purpose, and he gives it with power, love, and discipline. So we're going to just look at these here real quick. We're not going to all the way to the bottom on these. We're going to kind of just peek into each of these canisters here. So let's look at this. So power. So God has given you a spirit of power. We know what this is all about because if you are a young graduate, you know exactly what this means. You've been swimming in this water for all of your life. The culture has told you it is about believing in yourself and self-empowerment. And anything that you want to do, you can accomplish it. And that's exactly what Paul means. No, that's not true. That's not what Paul means at all here. That's not what he means at all. He means power in actually probably the absolute reverse of this. He isn't going, well, look at me. God has given me a gift and the power, and I can handle anything, and I'm on my own. In fact, in this letter, Paul does a lot of, it's not complaining exactly, but he goes through a lot of troubles that he's had. He's like, these people let me down. These people abandoned me. These people are opposed to me. He actually names this one guy. He's like, I went into that town. I'm trying to build up the church, and he opposed me powerfully. He actually uses this word, powerfully. He opposed me. He caused a lot of trouble for me. Timothy, watch out for him. He's a troublemaker, and he gave me that trouble. He's going to give you that trouble. So this isn't, boy, I have the power to accomplish what I want, the power to avoid problems. Paul is very clear about what he's had to face. But watch what he writes at the end of the letter here. He says, when he's talking about that guy that gave him all that trouble, he says, but the Lord stood at my side and gave me strength. So when Paul talks about power, he's not talking about personal power. He's not talking the power of perspective or positive thinking. It's more of this idea of going, God's power is at work in my life. When I'm a Christ follower and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, God is at my side. And yeah, I'm going to run into a lot of troubles. I'm going to run into pushback, but I don't need to be afraid. I don't need to crumble. The Lord will give me strength, so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed and all the Gentiles might hear it. I'm on mission for God because I'm a Christ follower. And even when I get pushback, I've got it. Look at this last line. And I was delivered from the lion's mouth. Did you know that? Did you know that Paul wrestled with a lion? I don't really remember that story. Oh, I think he's referring to something here. What does that sound like? My Sunday school people. Was this sound? Who is? Oh, it's Daniel. Oh, right, because Daniel tried to live honorably before God in a hostile culture, and he got opposed by a whole lot of people, and he got thrown into the lion's den, and God stood by his side and gave him strength and rescued him. Paul's pulling on Sunday school class here. He's remembering his Old Testament and going, hey, God did it then and he did it for me. Powerful. How about that? But when he gets right down to it with Timothy, he gives him this word of encouragement of going, look, this has been my experience and how God has shown up for me. This is what you can count on as you go out. In chapter 2, he writes, you then, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. Not strong in yourself, not strong in your belief in yourself. Be strong in the grace that Jesus has brought into your life, that you know who you are, you know that you have been rescued, you know your identity in Christ, you know what you're about. That changes everything about the landscape of your life as you head on out. You can stand there in strength. And you know what? I kind of hear something else in this. Do you recognize this language? It looks very similar to another time in the Bible. Joshua. This is a Sunday school lesson here this morning if you weren't paying attention. Joshua, you remember? Joshua's at the promised land. He's about ready to lead the people in. He's got all types of people. The inhabitants of the land are opposed to him. He's like, how are we going to pull this off? And the angel shows up and delivers that powerful line, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Do you think that's ringing in Paul's ears? Now he's updating it for the New Testament of going, it's being strong in the grace that Jesus has brought in your life. You don't need to fear a thing. You don't need to worry about every one of the battles. Yeah, there will be some, but God is on your side, and he'll deliver the strength you need as you pursue his will in your life. That's a grand opportunity as a graduate. All right, let's look at the next one. Love. He gives you a spirit of love. That means that you're going to be all ooey and gooey, and you're going to have warm, soft feelings for everybody around you, and you'll be soft and gentle. Isn't that what that means? That's what our culture says, right? But that's not what Paul is saying. No. See, you got to be careful. We can't make words mean what we think they mean. We got to listen to what they made them mean. Right? And so what is Paul saying? As a graduate, that you have been given this gift of a spirit of love. What is this love? What is it about? Now, he first starts out with a negative example to Timothy. He goes, look, here's how people get this all wrong. So in chapter 3, he says, people will be lovers of themselves. Now, look, that's not going to happen, so you don't have to worry about that. You're never going to come across somebody that really cares more about themselves than other people. Probably not likely. Lovers of money, we're beyond that. See, look, we are modern people. We know a lot of stuff. These are old, ancient, dumb people that didn't know about germs and nuclear science, and they didn't have iPhones, so they had problems that we don't have. Oh, wait. Yeah. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money. People without love, meaning they are unforgiving. Not lovers of the good. Lovers of pleasure, of going, man, I'm just after a good time. I only got so many years. I got to enjoy myself. That's the bottom line. See, this love is not talking about ooey gooey feelings. It talks about what matters in your life and what drives you. Well, it's about me. It's about the money that I can get. It's about the toys that I can have. It's about everybody against me. And I don't need to have any mercy. If they do me wrong, I'll do them wrong. It's about what drives your life more than it is about feelings. And he says, these are all the wrong ways that we can exhibit love in our life, the wrong pursuits. But you are invited as a follower of Christ to be a lover of God. To go, you know what? God is the first in my life. God is what I'm all about. God is the reason why I can get up in the morning and I have my purpose and my destiny. I don't have to chase all these things. They're dead ends. Now, he's using this in kind of a generic, general way. right? Kind of the theory part of it. But Paul's going to sharpen this and go, this is my experience, Timothy. Let's bring it into the real life. He says, there was this guy, a helper of mine called Demas. He says, Demas, he loved this world so much so that he deserted me. He left me on my own. When I was in trouble, when I needed help, he was there to help me. But he went, you know what? I want to be about what I'm about. I want to chase the things that I really care about. I don't really want to please God anymore. This love is about the loyalty. It's about the direction of your life. It's about the commitments of going, who is of the greatest priority? As a graduate, you have been given a gift of the spirit of love of going, are you going to take the gifts that you have been given and spend them on yourselves? You can do that. It's the American dream. It is the privilege you have for being in this country. You can chase whatever you want. And that's an important part of freedom. That doesn't make it right. You can chase all these things as a graduate. Or you can say, no, God is first in my life. God is what drives me and is what I'm pursuing. He brings order to all these other things. Money's going to fix me. Chasing after myself isn't going to fix me. Chasing after pleasure is really going to fall short. I want to love God. All right? That's a commitment there as a graduate. All right? Oh, and so he turns to three positive examples about himself. Now watch what Paul does here. 3 times in this letter. He goes, so what you have heard from me, keep as the pattern of sound teaching with faith and love. So he's pointing to himself of going, you know who I am, you know what I've taught, you know how I've lived. This is the right example of what drives your faith. Second time, pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace among those who call out the Lord out of a pure heart. See, this is a whole group thing. It's not a pastor thing. Anyone. This type of love is putting God first. His last time, watch this. You, however, know all about my teaching, my way of life, my purpose, my faith, my patience, my love. See, Paul isn't talking about emotions. He's talking about an example that he has set before Timothy of going, God has come first in my life. I left all that other stuff behind. That was garbage to me. This has been the pursuit. I can't say that it's always brought good into my life. Like a lot of trouble has come in my life because I put God first. But I wouldn't change it for the world because I love God. And God is good. And I invite you, Timothy, as a graduate, to step into that gift of a spirit of love for God and pursue him. You notice that Timothy just doesn't get this as a pure gift from God, but he gets it as an example from someone that has been around him, from his community of faith. All right, last one, discipline. He says, God gives you a spirit of discipline. Now, he doesn't go into using this word and defining it, but he gives 3 word pictures that help us to really kind of understand this, of going, if you're a Christ follower, this is the type of mindset that you want to have. As whatever you do, this is what you're bringing into it. He says, first, take on an attitude of a soldier. A soldier has priorities. They know what they're about. They have orders. They have a mission. No one wears a uniform like that. When you see that, you're like, oh, this person is about someone. They're not just kind of hanging out on the couch waiting for a TV show to show up, right? They're on task. They've got training. They know what they're doing and what they're supposed to be doing. And he says, have that type of mindset, those priorities as a Christ follower. Know what matters and know what doesn't. 2, be like an athlete. Have that focus. You're not just taking your skills and abilities and just kind of using them wildly here and there and whatever. No, an athlete takes and harnesses their strength and their abilities and their accomplishments to go, I compete, and I compete by the rules. I compete within the game to win. I want to do what is right, and I'm going to exercise all of the abilities God has given me in the right way. We want that as a Christ follower. You have now skills and abilities you didn't have before. You are sent out to use those towards God's kingdom. Finally, to be a hard-working farmer, talking about diligence, of going, you got to stay at this. Following Jesus is not easy. And it's not for wimps. It takes work. It takes commitment. It takes the endurance of going, you know what? I'm going to keep at it and keep at it. When I want to kind of go off and chase the other things like everyone else is, I'm going to stay the course. And I'm going to obey God. I'm going to follow God. I'm going to read my Bible so I can know the characters that Pastor Noel talks about and not wonder who they are. Come on, keep up here, folks. These are the jokes. Right? Discipline is what this is about. God gives you, as a graduate, an invitation of a spirit of power, his power in your life, his love in your life, to love him with everything you've got, to put him as first, and to live that with discipline. Why? Because whatever you do, I don't care what your career is. I don't care what job you have. You bear Christ in who you are, and you bring him into everything you do. If it was true of a Christian slave in the Roman Empire who had no rights, no authority, no opportunities, it's certainly true of you. Whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart as working for the Lord. You're no longer paying attention to the bosses. Whether you're in favor of them and go, I want to please my bosses and pursue them, or you hate your bosses and like, yeah, I can't stand them. It doesn't matter. Because the truth is, you serve Christ. That's what you're graduating into if you're a Christ follower. I don't care what skills you've accumulated. They're all for Jesus. All right, so there we go. Those are, good luck, graduates. Everybody has kind of tolerated this. I've talked to the handful of you that were here. Everybody else was kind of sitting there going, I wish we had something to tell us. It would have been nice if something was relevant to us. We're not graduating. We're going back to the same job that we were doing yesterday. And yet, if you'll notice, I called this graduations, didn't I? Not one. I'm not thinking about just high school or college. But if we really understand this idea of going, a graduation is I have had some training, I've been given something, and now I have an opportunity to build and expand on that. Perhaps it's more than just the bias of our culture to going, this is only about the young people. Maybe God has more graduations than that. I don't know. Let's take a walk through the Bible. So if you're not familiar with the Bible, you may not know all these characters. That's all right. We're going to run through them really quick. Let's see. How old was Abraham when God first started working in his life? He was 75. That was at the beginning of God working in his life. It was like another 25 years before some stuff paid off. Like, holy mackerel, this guy was old. And then we have Moses, right? Now, Moses, when he was young and smart and athletic, he tried to fix things on himself, made an absolute disaster, and God went, why don't you go to the desert for about 40 years? When he was 80, God came to him and said, you deserve Social Security right now. Why don't you just sit down? No. He goes, now you're ready for the greatest mission of your life. Then we go to Joshua, the guy that took over from Moses. Now, he was about 40 when he left Egypt, and he was part of the young guys that looked at the promised land the first time, and he had eyes of faith. He was like, yes, God has given it to us. He's with us. We have the gift of his power. We're going to do it. And other people were like, no, they were faithless. And so he had to waste 40 years wandering. So it was 80 years old, roughly 80 years old, when he took over for Moses and took the people finally into the promised land. All right, let's just stop there. Let's do some Bible interpretation. So we've got 3 examples. What's the logical conclusion? You got to be old. You're all teenagers. Until you're 80, God's not interested in you. Boy, that would be that'd change things now, wouldn't it? Well, let's go on here. How about Samuel? You remember Samuel? Samuel was just a little boy. He didn't even know who God was or how God worked, and God spoke to him. The very first time Samuel was used, he delivered a prophetic word to the priest who should have known, who should have been listening to God, and here's this kid God speaks directly to, and he speaks a word to him. How about that? Pretty young. How about David? David was a teenager when he defeated Goliath, Israel's enemy. That's pretty impressive. There were a lot of older guys around him at that time, and it took a teenager to get it done. How about it? How about Isaiah? Isaiah the prophet, you might be familiar with him or not. We always see him as an old guy, but actually God called him into ministry when he was in his 20s. Okay, so let's stop and do some biblical interpretation. So God's not really interested in you if you're over 30. He's only wanting to sign up the young kids. You're old as farts if you're past 30. You probably don't even text right. I don't even have room on this slide. We could go into Jesus. He started his ministry at 30. Paul came to Christ in his early 30s. Barnabas, his big partner in ministry, was probably about 10, 15 years older than him. So he was in his 40s, 50s when he started traveling with Paul. Oh, Isaiah doesn't get the prize, though. Jeremiah gets the prize. You know when God called him? Before you were formed, I knew you and I called you to my purpose. You'd have to add Samson to that. You'd have to add John the Baptist to that. What's the right age for God to call you and to use you? It don't matter, does it? Every age. There is never a time when you can go, well, God can't use me. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too whatever. He's using people all over the spectrum. And so if we bring this into graduation and say, everyone in this room, God has placed a gift in you. And it is irresponsible for you to let it sit idle by any excuse of going, well, that's not me. I'm too old. This isn't my time. You are called to fan that flame into more. You are all graduates. Because we might be in different phases of life. It may look different for those different phases of life. Eileen and I, we're booting out our last one. We're going for empty nest. Actually, we're in a tidal part of life. They come and they go and they come. Kind of like our food. They come to, they eat a lot. Holy mackerel, right? We don't get to go, well, we've done our part. We're going to sit back now. No, we've graduated. We have experience. We've trained. We've learned something from God, and now we're going into a new phase. Maybe it looks differently. I don't know how God's going to use it, but we're always looking at going, what's the next opportunity that God has for us? How's he going to use what he has done in our life for him to do the next thing? It's not right to go, well, this is just over, and now I get to just think about me. I'm retired. Isn't by that, by American definition, my time to live for me. That's probably the closest, most accurate definition of what retirement is. I get to live for me. I don't have to answer to anybody else. That's off the table. All of you have been given a gift. It doesn't have to look the same all throughout life, but you don't get to set it aside. We just came back from a conference of lots of churches part of it, and a former retired bishop came to help. Now, he's part of a church. He had spent all of his life as a missionary overseas, came back to the U.S., was a bishop for 12 years, got to retire. Take your ease. He's part of a church. You know what they have him doing? I mean, he's a former bishop, so he sits on a board, and he gets to tell a lot of people what to do. No. He gets to preach because he's a really good preacher. No. Do you know what our retired former bishop does? He teaches the 4th and 5th graders, and he loves it. He loves it. He's having a ball. See, this is why I'm a Free Methodist. This is what I love about us. For all of our other flaws that we have, and we do, every organization does, the people at the top, they don't love power. They don't chase those things. They love God, and it shows up in their life. I can look at the pattern of his teaching. I can look at the purpose of his life, and I can see it. He didn't go, my time is now for me to do whatever I want. He serves God. Graduations. Which one are you having? I want you to watch a video. We've seen it before, but I'm going to keep playing it until you get it. Take a look.
You and I might spend about 70 to 80 years on this earth. Not long when you consider the timeline of eternity. Have you ever wondered what life is all about? Every day we get bombarded with the message to pursue the things of this world. Make money, get stuff, be comfortable, live well. More, and me. That's the prevailing message of our day. Our generation has a hijacked version of the American dream. But as Christians, we know deep down this distorted view of life isn't real life. We read what the Bible teaches and we see how Jesus lived. Every day we face a choice: to pursue the me mindset of the American dream, or to pursue Christ. What if this generation was willing to trade in the pursuit of the American dream for a world that desperately needs Christ? To be traders. A trader is a new kind of missionary, not defined by geography. Where you live doesn't make you a missionary. The mission you're on makes you a missionary. Being a trader is a movement that requires us to live out our faith, not just talk about it. As a trader, we must choose daily to sacrifice and be intentional with our time, money, and skills. We can be like the Good Samaritan in the parable. When we're on the road of life and see someone in need, we choose to help. We follow Jesus' instructions to go and do likewise. A trader must hate injustice and find specific ways to bring the hope found in Jesus to desperate situations. It's easy to identify what you hate. What makes your heart break and your fists clench? A trader sees work as worship. Everything you do in life, including your job, can be an opportunity to worship the God who created you. Because God is glorified when we use our God-given passions and skills with excellence. And finally, a trader must act swiftly because the time is right now. The result of all this would be a generation of traders who are making choices with their time, money, and passions that are kingdom-focused and not self-focused, so that our short time here can have an eternal impact.
There's one problem with the video. It's not about this generation. It's about every generation. No one gets to sit on the sidelines and say, well, my time is done. God has given you a gift and you are called to use that and to fan it into flames and say, God, for this season, I've just graduated this. I'm going to receive what you have done for me. What opportunities do you want to give me? And I'm ready to go. That's what this is about today. You're all graduates. Congratulations. Let's pray. Father, it's hard because our culture just perpetually wants to bend our lives back in towards us. But that's not your way, and that's not your invitation. You're always calling us forward, deeper into you, to seeing with your eyes everything that you have given us, every good gift, was to lead to something else, to opportunities to continue to live for you and make our lives matter. Holy Spirit, I pray that you would rescue us from the shallowness of what our culture offers us, and to grab hold of you and to live out in your spirit of power and your love and your discipline in our lives so we can live for you. Amen.
Please